but I get adults who are also unsure about their talents and gifts because they weren't told how good they were. You know, nobody actually ever took out the time to say, hey, you do this and you do this really well, you know, and because that encourages you to actually do whatever it is you do even better. So it's extremely important. So that's what we're talking about today. You guys want to come on? You're more than welcome to talk with Live Talk today with Coach Steve.
And TruSag.
Yes.
Yes, and so we are starting again. If you're just tuning in, we are now beginning our importance of affirmation with Life Talk. Okay, so we're gonna start. Coach Steve already started, but he can lead this one, and then I'll follow in with my little teacher input on the 11 years of teaching and how important affirming those students were. So now, based off of me and how I came to you when I first started, my insecurities or whatever, and one of my biggest insecurities was the fact that no one ever really gave me a chance, like I said, in church or whatever, singing how we always get church.
Right, church has everything to do with.
Right, so just the fact of, like, in church, I really was never given a chance, and when I was given a chance, it was stuff that I really didn't want to sing, and because I didn't want to sing it, of course, I didn't really put my effort into it because it was songs that didn't like resonate with me. And so at this age, if I would have gotten those affirmations that when I started with TTWTS, it's a tongue twister, TTWTS. When I started with that, just the encouragement and the affirmation of Coach Steve and explaining and expressing like you can do it and stuff like that was super important. So how do you deal with other students like that?
Well, as I stated, actually, a lot of people actually come to me and their biggest issues are the fact that they are afraid, the fact that they weren't given many opportunities to actually learn how to sing. Nobody said to them, hey, you do this well. Let me encourage you even more. Let me help you with this. Hey, evangelist, come on and talk to us about it. So, most people, but you know what I dislike the fact that certain families, and I hate to actually classify them as quote unquote white families, they take more time with helping to develop certain areas of their kids' lives. They, as opposed to saying you can't do this and you can't do that, they are the total opposite. They encourage everything, which helps a child not be fearful and afraid to, find out a gift or a talent that they like and decide to, nurture that thing. I think that's extremely important. That's something a lot of our people lack.
And sometimes they encourage a little too bad, like when Billy is jumping from the top bunk head first. And they allow him to do that because he believes he can fly.
Okay, all right. Maybe somebody wants to be Superman. They don't want to deny them that.
Right. But no, you're absolutely right because just even when we look at The Nanny. You remember that show?
I didn't
see The Nanny.
I saw it briefly.
Yeah, it was like the lady from like
London or something?
London or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, and they were making their like boards
of
like who has what today and just to stay organized. And their kids had to do boards of Susan has piano today and then she has ballet and then tomorrow John has karate and blah blah blah. Like they make sure their kids are capitalizing as much as possible. And but then again, when you look at the other notion, the more money you make, the less you're active and the less you're there. So now you got all of these things that your kids are in, but then you're not showing up because you're working. So like now they're in piano or singing, but who's in the audience? They're there for them. So that was kind of like my thing growing up. And my mom swears, I love you, but she swears she was at all my stuff. And I'm like, I know you wasn't. I know. I was a cheerleader. I was a captain of the cheerleading team. for 2 years, and I was on the cheerleading team for 4 from high school, and I can probably count on one hand how many times my mother was in the audience.
Okay, my cousin just said exactly what you said, Trisha. She said it's because they're entitled. They have more resources where they can actually do stuff like that, you know. But actually, and cousin, I do agree with you, and I agree with you as well. The reality is we sometimes take our time or the extra time that we have, and instead of investing it in our children, we devote our time to places like church, where we give so much more time to church than investing that time into our children. I mean, I can speak for me. The most of our time was spent in church. If after school, maybe 4 and 5 days out of the week, we were in church now, which caused us to be deprived in playing sports. You ask me who the hell plays basketball, I don't know. Because I never played it. So we couldn't take an interest in it because we didn't have any time to give to sports. We were more committed to the church. You know what I'm saying? So,
and it was kind of like, instead of our parents affirming and supporting us, we had to support and affirm them, what they want. So now, like, and again, I'm just using my mom, like, and I'm super proud of her, but she got her, how do you pronounce it? Ministerial degree?
Oh, okay.
Minister, is that how you pronounce it? When you become a minister?
Minister.
I don't know. So I've been at a church too long.
Right.
But she got that, whatever. So then she became a minister or whatever. And you know, her ordination sermons and mock trial sermons and stuff like that, I was there to support her. Like, I was there to support her, affirming her. That sound good, you did great, blah blah blah. Which I don't see anything wrong with, or didn't see anything wrong with it as a child, because that's my mom. But then,
as you got,
yeah, it's like you have to be able to reciprocate that back to your children. What are you doing, you know, to show your kid like they have the support as well? Not saying that my mom didn't. I'm just using her as an example for me being there in church, supporting her every sermon, every mock sermon, all of those things. I was there as the child.
And see, my mind goes back, you know, to how we were raised, and we too had great parents. I mean, honestly, my mom and dad, but they were more committed to the idea that everything we did was centered around church, or it should be centered around God, which didn't give us the opportunity to do anything else outside of the church. Honestly, I think had my parents nurtured, I'm going to use that word, my singing ability a little bit more, I could be further along, you know. But although, you know, I had so many opportunities in the church, what Trish said, I had so many opportunities in the church, I was never, you know, it wasn't spearheaded, you know, to take my gift and to help develop it. It was just reluctant singing church, and that's it. Just go to church, and that's it. It wasn't, you know, hey, like Michael Jackson, I'm going to put your voice on some wax and make some money out of this thing. We don't do that.
Right. Or very seldom do.
Or very seldom. Yes. And I think this is a problem in the church. Okay, we're going to start reading some of you guys.
So Trish said that she, that there has to be a balance, because she was, I guess, highly active in the church, but she also allowed her children to play sports.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah. And then my hustle was not like that. Yeah. So, and we have, like I said, we have those situations where, like my aunt is a person. Most of the time, every time like my little cousin has stuff, my aunt supports her. She's always there, and if she can't make it, my little cousin's dad is there or whatever, and she, you know, posts stuff and affirms her, and you could do it, and I, you know.
What age category is that?
She's 14.
And her mom?
Around 45.
Now, can I say that I think that generation made a conscious decision to make changes in how they rear their children.
Right.
Because they saw how their parents did it. They wanted to make sure that they didn't repeat the same mistakes that their parents made.
Right. I agree.
True. Let's read some of this stuff. Ingrid said, my household was not, the mom was in the audience. Brother Play Sports most definitely was not centered around church. Okay. Karen says, nice hat. Thanks a lot, Karen. I can't with you. What's up, dude? We were pushed to do what we like to do. Nathaniel says, never heard singing like this. Naila says, it was also a homeschool mom. I worked at the schools they did attend because I was the, you look different, Naila. You smart like that. Tia said, yeah, but think had pushed more, I may have gotten further. That's my whole point. You know, I think it's imperative that, you know, but like I was just saying, these parents in this new generation are doing things differently than our parents did. They're making sure that they invest time, invest money into their children to help develop them, to help nurture whatever gift and ability that they may have, which I think is impeccable thinking. Honestly, they are people that follow the routine, and I hate to say it, y'all. Don't get me wrong. It is the routine of our counterparts. Mm-hmm. They've been doing this for years. You know, making sure that their kids are nurtured, making sure that you tell your child how great they are, how awesome they are, how wonderful they are. And that in turn gives them such power to possess and to accomplish whatever they want to do.
Right. And see, now the other thing, or the flip side of that, is we have the ability, or some of us have the ability to be stay-at-home moms or whatever, but majority of the people that look like us do not. So since we are all working, and we are all working paycheck to paycheck, as they say, like, they have the financial resources. Now there's a lot of free things you can put your kids in. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be costly. But then when you're talking about picking your child up, like, okay, so again, my little cousin, she wrestles or whatever. So of course, after school, if your school is over at 4 and your school bus brings you home at 4, but you're in wrestling and that's 3 times a week, somebody has to be able to pick you up at 6 o'clock from school to bring you home because of these extra curricular activities. So now we're looking at, do you have the manpower in your family to support an extracurricular activity? But there are ways around it, because like Mooch loved to play the drums. My mother made sure he had a drum set, and so did my uncle. So even though in bringing him to, but then he also was trained by Lanita Luke. We both went to her to play the drums or whatever, but still he had a drum set in the house, so he can master his talent as much as he could at home. But what about basketball? If that's your thing, and you don't live in a neighborhood where you could just go outside because it's dangerous or something like that, where do you get that? Like, where can you go to master that talent besides that school? So when I look at it as I guess like a different race, they may have the resources, and not just money, time resources, to allow their children to do 20 extra things where we couldn't, because mommy was at work all day or daddy was at work all day, and we barely had money to eat, let alone an extracurricular activity.
So there is a resource issue. There is definitely a resource issue, but
money and time resource.
Money and time, but I don't want to suggest that everybody is dealing with resource issues. There are a lot of people that actually do really, really well, and they have the time to, nurture whatever it is their children want to do. So I don't, and still don't do it. So, and like you said, there are a lot of community-based things that your children can get involved in. You know what I'm saying? So you don't necessarily have to hire me as a coach for $50 an hour. But my point is, you can find somebody in your area, you know what I'm saying, or in your community that can actually do what possibly what I do, but at a lesser or less costly, you know what I'm saying, rate. So my point is, I think, how much time are we committing to our children? And stop and not looking at, a resource issue. But even if it is a resource issue, it's still your job and your responsibility to do whatever is necessary to do with your kids.
Right. So now, when this whole COVID broke out, right, that was our argument, that it's not our job as teachers to figure out childcare for your kid. But instead of keeping your children safe, they would rather send their kid to school and not be safe,
right?
Because they don't have childcare. So it's like, well, I don't have nobody to babysit my kids, so they got to go to school. That's not the safest solution. Since I started in September, my class was shut down twice, 14 days each, 28 days before October, twice. From the end of August to October, the whole class was shut down because of COVID, coming in contact with COVID. So when you're looking at them picking and choosing, sometimes they look at it as, well, I'm just going to put my child in this situation because I don't think I have another way out. So I have to work. Bills need to be paid. You got to do basketball at another time. Like, so some people don't have the mental of how to balance stuff, which I'm not agreeing with it. They need to figure it out, but I'm just saying it's just like, well, we got to eat, right? We got to pay the bills, right? You use the game, you use the Wi-Fi, right? Like, so I need to make the money. I can't think about the other X, Y, and Z's or whatever, which is unfortunate.
But see, I think, and you create. See, the thing to me was about affirmation. So now you brought a whole nother thing into it, which is another topic we actually do need to discuss.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which is, like you said, not having the resources and not being able to. But ultimately, it's extremely important to affirm your children. It's important to do that. So, however you need to get that done, you need to affirm your children. I think it's the cause that a lot of children actually get locked up.
Yeah.
And they go to jail. And they don't know what to do with the time that they have.
Or they join
gangs. They use all of that energy that they can take and develop, you know what I'm saying, singing or develop a basketball career. They take all of that time and energy because they're not positively being affirmed because the parents lack resources. Unfair.
And now, beyond children, I feel like as adults too, when we don't get that, if we're struggling mentally, because mental health is a big thing across the world, not even just the country, but mental health is such a big thing. So even as adults, when we're striving and struggling and just don't seem to get where we need to, but somebody sees your effort and says, you know what, I seen that you've been struggling and you've been striving and it's gonna work out. You did this, you did that. That feels good as an adult. And I think as adults, we don't get affirmed enough as either, because it's just like, this is what you're supposed to do, but sometimes you need I see you. I see you.
And that's because they were not affirmed as kids. So they grow up, although they are aged, they still haven't grown up mentally. You know what I'm saying? They too, at a point, lacked affirmation or somebody telling them, you know what I'm saying? Because all of my sisters, they all got it rocking. Every last one of them. And you know what I'm saying? They're able to do what they need to do for their children to positively affirm them. You know, yeah, this world is jacked up, man. You brought up some good points, which is true. It is resources. Sometimes people can't do it. You know, but let's read some of these because everybody's really going in.
They was talking about singing and something.
Oh no, that's date. It's $50. All right, and every 7-year-old child don't need to be ballet, violin, basketball. They just need time with mom and dad. Very true. I've been downloading you. Oh, my songs. You need to be on here. I miss those stuff. Affirm your children. You are so right. Wrong ways. Amen. Unable to affirm. What do it look? Yes. You know what I'm saying? So I think it is so important, man. Like,
and people don't know what affirmation looks like because they weren't given it. So yes, he's right. What does it look like? And so when my nephew was born, one of my sisters used to do like positive words with him every night, and it was just like, I'm smart, I'm handsome, I can do it, like just to keep embedding that in his
psyche. Yes,
right. So it's just like, and one, I don't know if it was Tiffany or Uncle Russ Pastor Gordon that did this topic, but the importance of a name. And they were saying how your name, although it may be like, I always wanted to name my daughter Dakota, but when I looked at the term of Dakota is like a empty space, like no, not state, like it's an empty space or something like that.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. So you're Dakota. When the definition of Dakota is like an empty space or void, you're feeding subconsciously into your child of nothingness. So it's just the thought of just what words you're choosing to use to your children. So it's not even a necessary, or affirmation doesn't have to look like anything specific. It has to be geared towards your kid. If your kid is overweight or something like that, then your affirmation may be it's something, a verse of their weight or how big they are. Like, oh, you can do this or whatever. You could run with me. You can blah blah blah. We can do it. Just stuff like that. It doesn't have to be you're so smart or you're so beautiful. Everybody's affirmation looks different because I don't need those affirmations.
Yes, that's broad. It may be broad, but at the time it does need to be specific as well. We do need to tell our children more that they are smart, that they are intelligent, that they, as opposed to saying you're stupid and dumb, an idiot, pick up that shirt off the floor. Right. And we really don't know how much that has an impact on a child by stating and calling them stupid and dumb.
Right. Well, I didn't mean specific. No, I meant it doesn't have to be universal.
Right.
So it's specific
to that
your household, your child, whatever. It doesn't have to be plain.
Right.
These are the specific words. But yes, and one of my students said that to me one time, and I'm like, why are you not doing your work? And they're like, because I'm dumb. I'm not gonna get it anyway. Where would you get that from at 9? So you're dumb because that's what you were told, that you were dumb. And that hurt, that like literally hurt my heart. I was like, who told you that?
Exactly.
And they're like, I'm just dumb. And then, they start to get flustered. And I'm like, wow, you guys, but even at the, and I'm gonna say ghetto, trash, whatever race you are, however it's, y'all curse your kids out, and that's ridiculous. You don't talk to your kids like they somebody on the street.
Is that positive affirmation? No, it's not.
No. Get the F in here, you da-da-da. Even if you don't call them stupid, but talking to them like they're a dog, that's what they start to believe, that they're worthless. You talk to them like they mean nothing.
Oh my God. And you know what's so crazy? Because a lot of my students, everybody that works with me knows that I don't use any derogatory or any negative comments or speech as it relates to any of my students. It's always you can. Right. Yes, you can. It's always L&G, learn and grow. You have the ability to be the best that you can possibly be. And a lot of people look at me and say, you're lying. And why do they say that? Because they're not used to people giving them positive affirmation and telling them what they can do as opposed to what they can't do.
Yep.
So, it's so, I can't say enough. It is essential. It is vital that we as what is that?
Reinforcement.
Black people, really take out the time to affirm our children. And I guarantee you, when we tell them that they are great, that they can accomplish anything, that they can do anything, we'll see more of them becoming doctors and lawyers and having, cops that had integrity. Okay, you'll see way more of that than what we actually see now. But we're so indebted to calling our children dumb and stupid, and you can't do anything. You're useless. You're just like your dumb dad. You're just like your dumb mom. And we don't realize how much that has an effect on us.
And let me. So this,
hallelujah.
This this is a transparent moment. So my dog. My dog gets on my nerves, okay? But a lot of times I speak, and he's a dog, but I'm just saying I'm going somewhere with this. So I was on the phone with somebody that I dated or whatever off and on for years, over a decade. And I'm like, I told my dog Cash, I'm like, get down. He wasn't listening. I'm like, get down. He wasn't listening. I was like, get your ass down. Like I went off, and he was like, let me ask you a question. So as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh boy. But he's like, let me ask you a question.
A dog is a dog.
Right. I'm like, what? And he was like, you love him with all your heart, don't you? And I was like, yeah, like I've had him for 10 years, of course. And he was like, and you would do anything for him, right? I said, yeah. He said, so what makes me any different? If you could talk to him like that, why wouldn't you talk to me like that if I frustrated you to the point where you reacted that way? And I literally took like 5 seconds, like a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and I said, there's no guarantee. You're right. There's no guarantee that I won't react to you like that if you annoy me the way that I reacted to Cashew. And when he said that, I thought about the way that I speak to people and the things that come out of my mouth, because once you have that in you, there's no way to shut it off unless you understand what you're doing. So it doesn't matter if it's your child, your coworker, the person at the store, on the road. If that's in you to talk like that, then it's in you. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. And that's the problem. So that's the problem with your children. That's the problem in relationships. Because when you try to get into another relationship and somebody loves you too much, and you haven't gotten that affirmation from your previous relationship,
oh my God,
you in that relationship, like, it's impossible for you to feel that way about me. It's impossible for you to think I'm beautiful. It's impossible for you to love me unconditionally, because those words were never spoken to me before.
Wow.
So those are important. So not only, but again, we don't use that type of terminology because we weren't given it growing up. So now, and another thing, my mom was like, I don't like being touched, okay? So this is why I'm
single. Who, you or your mom?
Me. This is why I'm single, y'all. But I don't like I don't like too much affection. Like, okay, you want to give
she don't like all this.
Like, you could give me a church hug, we good. Anything a little bit more embracing.
A pat on your back.
All right. So my mother's like, I don't know where you got that from. And when she said that, I'm like, I don't remember you ever hugging me or putting me on your lap or cuddling with me to watch a movie, or I don't remember that. So maybe I blocked it out. And she sat there and was like, I watched movies, which I'm like, not cuddling, not like you did with my brothers. So I don't see that. I didn't, that wasn't, my father never did it. My mother didn't do it. So for me, I became tough. Like, don't touch me. Don't, whatever. Like, and that's how I became. I have it in my mind that I have to break that cycle with my child. Woo! Because I can't. I already feel it. And even my sister, she does that with my nephew. He'll give her a hug and she's like, oh, give me a kiss. She'll kiss him and she's like, all right. And that's it. But she wasn't, it's my sister, adopted sister, but she wasn't given that either from her parents. Right. So now that she has a child, it affects the affection she gives her, because she hasn't seen it. So I can't.
That is so true, girl. You talking the truth. But isn't that also affirmation? Isn't that also, wow, that's crazy, because my mom as well. And it's crazy because her mom before that, and her mom before that, it was a routine where no one showed that kind of affection to their children. So guess what? We're deprived. How can you properly develop without the proper showing of love or demonstration of love? Right. How can you properly develop?
My friend said Cash runs things. He does. He right, but you're right. And my father's side, like my mother. Now, one thing my mother did tell us was "I love you." That's one thing that our family does.
My mama did.
We don't get off the phone. I love you. We can talk 10 times a day. I love you. Like it's second nature. But my father's side, they didn't use that word. So, but I was so used to it that when I get off the phone with them, I'm like, all right, love you, talk to you later. And I can promise you count on 10 fingers, I might have got I love you back once or twice. And that's across the board. So it's just like weird.
Yeah.
Like, why are you telling me you love me? You dying?
It's uncomfortable. It feels uncomfortable because you're not used to hearing it.
Yes.
That is so crazy. So that's the affirmation that we're referring to. It's not just affirming and your children and pushing the things that they like to do. It's not just that. It's also showing. It's also demonstrating. You know what I'm saying? By hugging and expressing to your children how much you love them. All right, let's read some of these. I saw, this old school behavior in some black households. I can only speak in this because I'm black. Yep. Reinforcement, but it's truth. That's awesome. Hey, bro, and hey, we would rather our children have to heal from the culture than to change the
and
change the culture, Derek. Yes.
I tell people all the time, for whatever reason, and this. Remember, we said life talk. We're not talking about 100%, but we're talking about the majority.
Right.
Why is it that black mothers and black daughters, for whatever reason, have so many issues other than other cultures? Like, it's just like, it's a clash. As soon as you become a certain age, it's like, you and your mother don't get along. And
competition sometimes.
Right. And then once you get older, now you're best friends. But it's a lot of times it's like a 10-year period where black mothers and black daughters there's just a conflict of interest for whatever reason. So you miss about 10 years, especially if you don't have a father in the picture. You missed about 10 years of affirmations because there was 10 years of issues between the black daughter and that black mother. So now we're looking for what? Affirmations from who? A man. Like once we get to that place, because we don't have it.
Exactly.
So it's heartbreaking that people don't have affirmations when it seems second nature.
But like Derek said, let's change the culture.
Yes.
All right. It's been this way in the past. It may be that way in the moment, but we have the ability to make change. We can change what we do. All right. So that's what Derek said. Nathaniel said, "Papa, I can't." They will start healing. That will start healing nations. Ingrid, I'm speaking on singing now. Of course, encourage them to be what they have a desire to be. Exactly. It's the hallelujah. Hallelujah for me. Squeeze an apple, you will only get apple juice, cause that's what's inside. This guy, I tell you, intelligent. This is my dude. Can we bring my girl on real quick? This is my friend Naila. She's very. Let's see if it works this time now, because I think one time we did it before and we couldn't get it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You want to try it now, or you want to?
No, we have some. We started at 3:28, so we have a couple of minutes.
More? Okay. All right. Here we go now. Yeah, man. You guys are saying some awesome things. Derek, we got to get you on one day, bro. But we also don't know how to love because we truly don't believe God is love.
We try to stay away from the religion as much as possible, because then Steve will be over here.
I'm going to be jealous. No, right.
Shoes on.
Yeah, but how simple is that?
Right.
Simple, but yet complicated. We say God is love, but we really don't believe He's love, because if we believed it, how come we treat each other the way we do?
And I told somebody, the person I was telling you that came down, I told him the other day, we was talking about miscarriages and women not being able to have children and that whole thing. And he's like, when God wants it to happen, it'll happen. So, it's just not your time. And I said, and that's the issue, because when women carry children full term and have to deliver a dead baby, or have a baby and it dies a week later or a month later, that same statement you have to say to them too. So how can you look a mother in her face that just lost her 1 week old and say it wasn't your time and it wasn't in God's plan, so he took it from you? I don't believe God is pain. So you can't tell me that was God, because I don't think that he's pain. So we can't. You got to be careful when you choose what you mean or what you think the love of God is.
This is so good. This is better than church.
See,
why you do that?
Send invite if there's already. Well, it's adding, so that's fine.
Isn't that? Oh, okay. Exactly. Nice. Okay. There you go. We can hear you now.
We can hear you.
This girl got it. Come on, give us the wisdom.
I'm good. I'm washing clothes, so give me a break. Give me a moment. But I thank you for this. Okay. And I wanted to share that. Hold on. I think I left my other phone. Give me 1 second. Y'all got me in between, but I'm like, I got to get on this. But I have just recently come back home after 20 some odd years. I've been away from family and friends. And Steve, as you know, I live a different lifestyle as far as just, I won't say different, I should say I've grown in many ways, spiritually, and just in creating my own traditions with my family and with my husband, and now with 7 children. And so on my return, is what I discovered and realized, being back home with family, is that I have changed, right? And the way that I have come to understand life, not just raising children, not just being a mother, not just being a wife, not just being a community person, blah, 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 blah. And you're talking to somebody, and Steve knows more, I've been in the abusive relationships. I've been addicted. I've been through it all. So you're not talking to somebody who is, got it all together. I've been through self-development. That's my life. It's self-development. Right. It never ends. So in coming back, I realized, I created a fantasy about my life. I created what I believed in my heart was good, was the seed that was dropped for me to be the person that I am today. So it's not that it was all bad, but what I've come to be clear about is that I had an abusive environment growing up. And now that I'm back and I have 2 new babies from birth, and as an addition to our family, I refuse, because my children weren't raised in New York. I had, by the time they were, toddlers, they were, we were down south. So I had choices. I had better choices at raising them. But I refuse to allow these 2 little boys who did not ask to be here to experience.
That's right.
What I experienced, because again, my upbringing, I realized coming back 25 years later that I created a fantasy about my life. I'm writing about that one. I'm like, I created a fantasy because, again, the mind is powerful. And it's not that it was a lie. It was what I experienced. I took all the good in my mind and I was like, yeah, this was great. This was good. But in reality, I had a father that I didn't grow up with, but I would go visit from time to time, that none of my 22 siblings talk to anymore. I'm the only one that has a relationship with him because I didn't grow up with him, but he was physically abusive. And that's why I didn't grow up with him. Part of the reason. The other thing is my mother, God bless her. Powerful, powerful woman. But we were latchkey kids before latchkey came out. And me and my brother pretty much had to, with the sticky notes on the refrigerator and stove, we had to run the house.
Wow.
Right? And I always said my mother was powerful, but my mother was verbally abusive. And now today that I'm here and I'm saying, like, she ain't trying to hear that shit. She's like, what? What? And I'm like, but boo, fine thing, you former model, and you runaway queen. I'm like, you are verbally abusive.
Right.
Because people are looking at these babies like that, and I am not I'm my mother's child. So some people will say, oh, well, you shouldn't say no, because if I don't.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Then they're going to go out into the world and do what I did in the beginning. That's why I experienced a lot of abuse in the beginning. Because I was accepting things that were unsaid, unspoken, untold, unprotected. You see? And so people would be like, doing stuff or saying things or doing things that were, you don't have to say that you want that little girl to sit on your lap. And you know what I'm saying?
Woo.
Come and give Uncle so-and-so a kiss. You ain't got to give Uncle so-and-so nothing.
Nothing, right.
You sit your behind down.
Right.
You understand? Because that's what we did. You could go and give your son, go and give them a hug. What's wrong with you? Excuse me?
Right.
No, that's abuse. And so how do we come out of that? So when I was saying culture, every household has a culture.
That's right.
That's how we develop culture. Not because we're black, not because we're Hispanic.
That's right.
Culture starts in the home.
Right.
So your culture does one thing, mine do another. Next door, we live right next door in the hood next to each other, but everybody has a culture.
Mm-hmm.
So our culture has to be changed by us having a made-up mind in our DNA and our blood, because the blood has to change. The blood has to change because that's where the cells are. So you have to have a made-up mind that no matter what your environment has predicted you to do, that you're going to do something different.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Because if you don't, you'll continue to bathe in the poison.
Woo!
Continue to tell people that it's a lie and you're the truth with every part of your being, because it's in the blood. That's why it's so easy for us to be like, I swear to God, all of that, because it's in your blood to do that. Until you change the cell, of course you're going to take it to your brain.
Wow. Nayela!
Don't get me started. That's why I was like, what? I'm like, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And that's why I continue to do this work, because it starts within me. And whenever I get the revelation, no, it's not that everybody's dealing with this, but somebody, because everybody's assigned to certain people in the world. So somebody in the globe needs to hear this, because we all have this toxin in some way, form, or fashion that we have to come out of. So the short of the story in the end is this: when I went away, I was determined that although I had first gotten into a very abusive marriage, my first marriage, I was determined that my children would be my focus, because they were also my outlet. And so eventually in the plan, at the first 6 months before my grandmother who raised me, she said, you ain't got to be ashamed because you had that big old wedding and da-da-da, girl, come home, right? So before she died, I said in my mind, we had a talk, and I said, I have 4 years and I'm getting out of here. Right? It took 11. But you hear what I'm saying? And so I focused, so all my energy was on my children. So that's why it sounds like, everything was together, but it wasn't. It was just my way of getting to that point of, self-developing, and say, okay, I'm going to, my children are going to go to school. I'm going to homeschool them. I'm going to work at the daycare. So I took them to the daycare. So they weren't a part of the daycare, but they were able to come. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw the toxin in that stuff too, even though I was working there. So it's so many dynamics.
It is.
Y'all. You are hitting on some very powerful points. Continue what you're doing.
Woo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got me like in tears. You got me in tears, Nah.
Oh,
This girl, I love you more. She's been through it, and she can really tell you some powerful things. Now, we're going to actually set it up one day where we can have a longer discussion on a specific topic and allow you to expound more. I'm going to also see if we can actually break up this video, kind of like, and usurp this particular part or other parts, and, just post it by itself. We're going to get advanced like that eventually. But thank you, Nye. Thank you for your love and just
thank you.
watching us.
We appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
All right, Nye. Talk to you soon, baby. All right. Bye-bye.
Peace.
All right. You see it?
Yeah.
Oh, you see
So that was amazing, guys. We really appreciate her coming on. But yes, that is which one thing that she said that stuck out to me was creating a fantasy in your mind to make it seem like your life wasn't shit like it was. And once you come to that realization and being able to be healed enough to address your abuser, whether it was physical or verbal abuser, most of the time, and I tell you from my own experience, when you address that abuser, they deny it because they're like, they don't want to look at themselves in a mirror. So that becomes an issue. Well, it couldn't have been that bad. It couldn't, you know what I'm saying? But it was that bad. It was.
They create their own fantasy.
They create their own fantasy. And like she said, with, you know, oh, you could go say hi to Uncle such and such. No, because if your child feels uncomfortable in any situation, allowing and agreeing and telling your child that, okay, I'm here. So if you don't feel comfortable doing something, I got your back. You don't have to do it. That's affirmation, because you're affirming their feelings. You're saying, I understand, and we don't have to do this. Now, of course, they might get carried away. I don't want to take a bath and cry. No, you got to wash. You know what I'm saying? That's something different. But when you're talking about
being
feelings
around
and being uncomfortable and stuff, you listen and you affirm their feelings, because when you start suppressing your child's feelings, it's not a positive thing, because then they grow up suppressing them, just like men. Men don't cry because you call them a wuss or a sissy or whatever growing up, and now we have these damaged men that mama you done sent our way, and now we got to try to figure it out and fix them, and that's not fair to the women that they start dealing with, because you didn't affirm their feelings, you didn't allow them to express what they had going on. So I completely agree.
I like what she said about it's in your DNA, it's in your blood, and that's the reason why it's difficult for you to make changes, because it's in your DNA, it's in your system. Once you function a way, if you do not change that way or consider making changes to that way, you're going to do the same thing, because it's in your DNA.
Definition of a generational curse. It's there. Even if you didn't experience it or see it, it's so embedded in your lineage that you can't run from it. You just have to look at it and deal with it head on, and try to figure it out and change. But there's no way to get around it. It's no way.
Shanae, can I commit to us doing this again next week?
Oh.
I gotta ask the boss, because she the boss. Now she want to dance and shout. She done preached herself happy. Yeah, we can go to church today. Let's give her now. I ain't got no beat. Wait.
What? You're a singer?
It's been a long time since I've been to church.
Right. That was
God. Yes.
Yeah, this was a great topic. We can do it next week, or whatever, and we'll bring out some points that we had that we can elaborate next week. Further on. So we'll still talk about affirmations, but we'll get a little bit more in depth on being broken because of the affirmation. So we spoke about a lot of things or reasons that affirmations are good, but when you don't have affirmation, then what happens? Where does that lead you? And you can come on and express where your lack of affirmations came from, and how did it hinder you in the future in your life. So we'll get a little bit more in depth, so we can have more people come on and kind of tell your story.
Yes. I just want to say this before we go, because I know we're trying to wrap up. But have you guys, or have you ever seen somebody who, let's say, I'm going to use the word quote unquote, because I don't want to be politically incorrect, who was a little bit unattractive, but they had so much confidence.
Biggie.
And you could not tell them that they were anything other than beautiful. That to me is the epitome of a person who knows how to give positive affirmation to a child, even in lieu of the fact that when the world considers you not to be beautiful or not to categorize you as pretty, her mom or someone was able to say to her, even in lieu of all of that, that you are beautiful.
Yeah.
And it resonated with her so much to the point where she's unbreakable.
Right.
You can't tell her anything other than the fact that she's beautiful. Right. That's the kind of affirmation that we need to give to our children. Even when the world says, oh, hallelujah. I really felt that, y'all. I really felt. I'm
scaring me. I'm over here like, yeah.
I'm serious. Yes.
Oh, you missed this, sis. We're talking about the importance of positive
affirmation.
The importance of affirmation to affirm is a positive instead of a negative. But even when women, it takes for a woman to not be able to compliment another woman. There's something there.
Absolutely.
And I got into a point where I'm going, if you cute, you cute, sis. Like,
but even if you're not. No, see, that's the thing. See, no, that's what I mean. So
no, because see, I don't think, that, like, friends don't let friends drive drunk. Like, so that's how I feel. If you're a friend, you don't let a friend believe something that you in your mind is like, I don't know what, like an outfit. And like, hey girl, how this look?
But girl, who gets to classify what's beautiful?
So then they can say your opinion. Because if it's your friend, you be like, I wouldn't wear that. But if you like it, if you like it, I support you.
So how can you say I wouldn't keep that face, but if you like it, I support
you?
You know, how are you going to do that?
I don't put makeup on, but I mean, if you like it natural.
Affirmation, yeah. So we're going to be back next week with the same topic. We're going to talk further about this. Thank you guys for your input. Very intelligent.
You said, no, I'm not saying it if it's not true.
See, I
gotta tell, see, I'm a Sag. So I say unsolicited opinions.
See,
but if you ask me, I'm not gonna give you my opinion if you don't ask. But if you ask, I'm not gonna not give you my opinion.
So can you tell a person who is quote unquote unattractive, hey, you're ugly?
I would say that you're not my type. I would, do you think I'm pretty? You're not my type, but to each his own. I can't, but I'm not gonna be like, girl, you got it. And now you out here like, and I'm looking crazy because I didn't tell you. I don't know. I think depending on your relationship, if you don't care about somebody, then you tell them whatever they want to hear.
Rude because you just don't care.
No, I'm saying you could tell them whatever they want to hear. Like, you look cute. Yeah, you look cute, girl. Because when she go out, people gonna laugh at her. You probably laughing too. But if I really care about them, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, girl, that's nice.
But what if she has such her energy is very bright and her positivity is so loud and it speaks louder than what her physicality looks like. And I put on the arm, but I don't know what the heck.
It's alright, we only got right, but that's like, have y'all ever seen a baby that wasn't cute? And what y'all say? You don't say that baby ugly, you like, aww.
Right. Well, you'll say, oh, okay.
That's it.
We'll use other words. So all ugly people get no affirmation.
No, what? That's only
I don't know.
Affirm their inner beauty. I think your spirit shines.
And that's what I'm saying. So how do we classify what is beautiful? Because you got some people who may not be ideal when it comes to beauty, but you got some guys that's head over heels for them. Something about that individual that causes them to be attracted to them versus Vanessa Williams.
We say that all the time. We see like the really, really nice looking guys with females that we don't find attractive. Like another female doesn't find attractive, but there's some beauty in her some way. But I'm saying if she's like, do you think I'm pretty? I'm not going to be like, yes, of course. You're gorgeous. No, I'm not going to lie. I would probably be like, why you ask me that?
I can't. Listen, next week, and Derek Beyond, I want you to come on to the live.
3 o'clock.
This guy also joined TTWTS, and he can sing. It's freaking amazing. Well, he gonna sing for us next week too.
Yes, I do agree, Derek. That's Steve. He a softie over here. I think an affirmation should also be the truth, not just feeding into your imagination. I agree, but Coach Steve, he wants to be. I'm
different. I want to love everybody. I want the world to be loved and feel loved.
Yes, and they can feel love with the truth.
Giving you something you can feel.
Okay, guys, look. So if we're not on that 3, blame it on Coach Steve because he has to come to me next week. Yes. So if there's any reason that we're not on, it was him. Okay?
And the only thing that'll keep me from nothing but death will keep me from it. Everything you've done to me, I've already done to you. The days I see you, I know there's a God.
Not the whole scene.
I would love to, Steve. Yes,
Okay,
if you're
cool.
free. It's going to be next week around the same time, but I'll give you a heads up.
Yes.
But Intelligentsia, this guy.
Yes.
Love you, Les. And you're going to come on to TTWTS and sing for me one day.
Okay.
Knock it off. I'll see y'all later.
Bye, y'all.
Have a good night.